with that, I mean, that can be really like heavy to have to carry and kind of understand and work through. So what are some of the steps that, survivors and their, friends and family, or anybody who's really been impacted by sexual assault, what can they do to promote their own resiliency through all of this?
Yes, I'm really glad you brought that up. 'Cause I'm not sure if I mentioned the, family members and support that we also provide to them as well, because that can be traumatizing in itself to not know how to deal with or help the survivor or just be there in general. A lot of times it can literally just be believe the person, trust what they said, and even for for the survivor, understand that these coping mechanisms are normal. You are not going through this alone, and you're not acting. There's no right way to act after a sexual assault. I think that's one of the biggest things and most impactful things that I've ever heard and that I've ever been able to pass along, because a lot of people will mention, if you ask someone, well, they didn't act like they had just been sexually assaulted. How do you act? A lot of times we don't see someone just, falling out crying. And that's okay if you are, if that is your reaction. But if you're not, that is also okay. So no matter what your response is, we're here to support that and help you, cope through that in whatever way looks best for you. So again, the individual, the group counseling, and also recognizing that sometimes counseling isn't for everyone, or they may not be ready for counseling at the moment. So focusing on some other coping mechanisms, journaling. Some people like to garden, exercising. I know the weather's changing. I know we're not supposed to be around each other, but we can still do a lot of like outdoor walking, the gardening, the kind of getting in touch with nature and in tune. And that kind of also helps people get back in touch with themselves and who they want to be, and figuring out what a healed version of themselves looks like. I think one of the other biggest things that I've heard is to be patient with yourself. And that goes for the survivor and this person that's supporting them, because being patient with them and being patient with yourself just looks like anything could happen at any day. You're going through up and down emotions, and that may look different to yourself. You may not recognize yourself some days, and then other days you may feel on top of the world, and that's okay. Those are the emotions that we go through to understand ourselves too. Also, as a supporter or someone that's a family member or a loved one, just trying not to fix that person. One, because they're not broken, number one, but two, because we we sometimes just want someone, or the survivor just wants someone to be there to listen and to say, there's nothing wrong with you. I just need to get this out. I just need to vent to someone. I think another way that we can promote resiliency is just reaching out, knowing that, knowing what your options are, knowing that we have the 24/7 crisis hotline, that your services are also free as well in Isle of Wight. So knowing that there are different people that can help you and that believe you and that will always be there. We are actually in the process of trying to secure more technology friendly ways and providing that support through telecounseling. So that should be up and running within the next week. So that would be very, very helpful. It is a learning process because, of course, we're used to doing things in person, but that does not mean the support changes at all. Or, our counselors are still very qualified, and, it's been a bit of a learning curve, I'm sure, for everyone. But again, as we mentioned before, just because we have to physically distance ourselves doesn't mean we have to emotionally distance ourselves or our support or anything. So I think one of the biggest things is just knowing that someone is there to be there and listen and support and provide those coping mechanisms and provide a listening ear, or just to believe you in general.
Right. And that in and of itself is, really the point of it all, is to help people, right? It's, no matter what point in the process that they might be, and no matter if it's right after, that inciting incident, or it's been 50, 60 years, right? At any point in time, it's about being there and supporting, whoever needs to be supported at that time. And so that's why it's, really awesome to be able to sit and do things like this and speak with people who are actually like in the field and are actually experiencing these things, and seeing these things day to day, and how we're addressing, and adjusting to these kind of critical times and things like that. So those were the questions that I had for you. And so thank you so much for, taking the time to answer them and things like that. And, providing all that information and those statistics and, information about how people can access your services and things like that. I'm really excited for the telehealth, because that's going to be so awesome for you guys. So now if you've got any questions for me, lay them on me.